Our Teacher is a Vampire and Other True Stories, a First Chapter Friday read aloud video with Amanda Zieba, the word nerd, and author interview with Mary Amato. One last thing before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Fellner's 7th and 8th graders at Roanoke Benson Junior High. Yes, you guys, he really does email me and he wanted me to send this to you as a surprise. Surprise! And happy reading. I hope you enjoy this First Chapter Friday video. Hey everybody, my name's Amanda Zieba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd, and another First Chapter Friday video. This week I'm going to be reading to you from Our Teacher is a Vampire and Other Not True Stories by Mary Amato. Now, I thought this would be the perfect book for October because, it's about vampires and they're usually pretty scary, but it's also the perfect book for this channel because it is so stinking funny and I know you are going to love it. Also, know that you're really going to love that we're going to have a chance to talk with the author, Mary, after I read you a little bit. Now, First Chapter Friday is kind of a misnomer for this book because there aren't actually chapters in this book. There isn't even a blurb on the back. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the story and then we're just going to dive in and read some and then we'll go talk to Mary. Sound good? Okay, so this story is about a group of classmates who are all going to write something together in one notebook that they pass all around. And it's really cool because it's fun to see and hear the different voices of the characters and see how they grow throughout the story and also just enjoy the story that they're telling us. But what's even cooler than hearing them is seeing them. I'm going to put some pictures on the screen while I read so you can see the different classmates' handwriting and really see their personalities come out through that handwriting. It's a really fun element of the book that I super love and that we're definitely going to talk to Mary about. We're just going to get going. We're not even going to waste any more time. I am not going to be so excited, but I am so excited to read to you from Our Teacher is a Vampire and Other Not True Stories by Mary Amato. Tuesday, October 22nd. Greetings, fellow classmates. Our teacher has a huge, frightening secret. I'm going to write the story about it in this class book and everybody in this class can read it. But first, you all have to promise not to tell anybody else. Read the oath below and sign it. At recess, we can each add a drop of our blood to seal the deal. Suspensefully yours, Alexander H. Gory, Jr. P.S. Pass it on, but wait till Mrs. Penrose isn't looking. Oath. I agree that this is a top secret book for Mrs. Penrose's class only. Whatever Alexander H. Gory Jr. tells me, I hereby promise to guard with my life and never tell a soul. Signed, with a drop of blood, on this Tuesday, October 22nd, at Delight Elementary School in Delight, Minnesota. To Alexander. Number 1, you are asking us to keep a secret, but sometimes secrets can be bad or even dangerous. Number 2, I will not pass this book on. Number 3, we should be listening to Mrs. Penrose's lecture on similes and metaphors. My attention is drawn to her like a magnet. Sincerely, Omar. P.S. Just tell me what's going on at recess. P.P.S. Isn't that this notebook you got for your birthday to fill up? I like how the pages are perfectly clean and blank. It feels like a real book, not like a notebook. Fellow classmates, this cannot wait until recess. This is a matter of life and death. Suspensefully yours, Alexander H. Gory Jr. P.S. Pass it on. P.P.S. Yes, this was a birthday present. I've been saving it for something big, and this is huge. Hey, I saw this on Omar's desk and grabbed it. I'm hooked, I promise, but making us wait till recess is mean. Tell the secret right now, Alexander. If it's as good as you say, I'll pass the book on. Carly. Greetings, Carly. Like I said, the secret is huge. Okay, I'll tell you. Mrs. Penrose is a vampire. You'll never guess who her victim is going to be. Our librarian, Ms. Yang. I think we'll be the first students to have a vampire for a teacher. My idea is to write the whole story as it happens in this book. Excitedly yours, Alexander H. Gory Jr. Hey, Alexander. Wow, this is really big news. If we write this story, we could sell it for $1 million. You could do it yourself, but think about it. With our help, you could do it faster. And it would be more fun, and we would make enough money for everybody to have a lot. I can see this as a movie. You need me. Later, Carly. Greetings, Carly. I like your enthusiasm. Okay. Whoever in the class wants to help write the story can help. Alexander H. Gory Jr. P.S. Pass it on, or else. Sup, dudes. Carly passed me Alexander's book. I'm in. Totally cool idea about the story. Carly's right. We could make big bucks. I'll put in the funny stuff. Alexander can draw the pictures. By the way, if I were a vampire, I'd pick a nice chubby chap for my victim. Ms. Yang is too skinny. Skinny people like her don't have as much blood as chubby chaps. It's basically like the difference between getting a small soda or getting a big gulp. Slurp. Smell you later. Nick the Slick. Disgusting, Nick. What's your proof, Alexander? Last month you said there was a ghost in the library, and there wasn't one. Kristen. P.S. I saw a blank book like this at the bookstore and I wanted it, but I didn't have any money. Thank you for letting us write in it. Alexander, I'm sort of nervous and excited about how real it is. P.P.S. You wrote pass it on or else. Or else what? Greetings. I have all the evidence this time in black and white. When Mrs. Penrose was helping Buzz in the back of the room, I went up to her desk to get a tissue. I saw her journal open and I couldn't help reading the page. Meet me under the pine tree by the old merry-go-round at recess, and I'll tell you exactly what I read. Breathlessly, Alexander H. Gory Jr. P.S. Pass it on, or else I will come back as an angry ghost and haunt you after I die for the rest of your life. If you guys want to find out what happens to Alexander and Carly and Kristen and Nick the Slick and Omar and all of the classmates, definitely pick up a copy of Our Teacher is a Vampire and Other Not True Stories by Mary Amato. But right now, let's go have a chat with the author herself. Hey readers, we are in for a real treat today because we are here with author Mary Amato. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I have 5 questions for you. And the first is, where did you initially get the idea for this funny book? And once you get an idea for a book, what's the first thing you do to get going on it?
I was having video conferencing with a class in Minnesota for years. So the same librarian would set this up, and I would. Back then, Zoom didn't exist, so it was Skype. So we called it Skyping,
Mhm.
and I really got to know this collection of kids out in Minnesota. And they would write to me and they would ask me questions and they would share their stories. And it was a really nice relationship that just kept going. And they were dying for me to write a sequel to my book called Please Write in This Book. And so I thought, okay, that would be fun. And I started it. And what I realized was very quickly that it was going to be a book on its own. It wasn't going to be using any of the characters from Please Write in This Book. So it can't really be a sequel if you're not following those characters. And the book just grew on its own from there. And the second part of what was the second part of your question?
What's the first thing that you do once you get an idea?
I knew there was a second part. My trusty little writer's notebook is what I always turn to. I always have a little one. It's very thin and it's very small, and that's so I can stick it in my pocket because most of my ideas and most of my working out of plots for stories and of characters is not done when I'm sitting at my desk. It's done when I'm taking walks or when I'm out in the world and something pops into my head. So I'm always ready and I jot down little notes. I try not to worry about writing a story right away. I just try to invite myself to think of lots of ideas about the characters and about what might happen to the characters and to keep it very open before I make decisions. If you wanted to write a book and the first thing you did was write chapter one and then you started to write the first sentence, it would be very hard. And a lot of people try that and then they give up. And that's because it's really hard to do two things at once. It's hard to write and think. So I
Yeah.
separate them. I think first and jot down my thoughts, which is not real writing, that's just brainstorming. And then when I'm ready, I sit down to write the actual story.
Awesome. That is such good advice. And it kind of leads me into the next part, which is there are a lot of characters in this book. Like each of the students has their own personality, their own voice, and we get to hear from all of them. How did you brainstorm about these characters? And then how did you keep track of them all so you could make sure that you were consistent with their personalities and their traits all the way through the story?
Great question. Once I decide to write a book, I get one of these, and I'm sure your readers and viewers will recognize this. I dedicate a composition book to every novel that I'm working on. And in that, I put those longer things like the character descriptions. And so for that book, I wrote down every character's name, and then I wrote like a paragraph about what kind of personality does this person have? Do they have a saying that they say? Do they have a habit? Do they what are their likes and their dislikes? And I write all of that down here in this book, and then I also do a lot of what I call webs. So some people call them mind maps, where I
Mhm.
just write. I don't write in sentences like in a paragraph. So I do a lot of that, and I'll show you a little one later.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, awesome. My next question is that along with each of those personalities came a very specific type of handwriting that we see in the book. And I did some screenshots while we were reading the first part before you jumped on with us, so the viewers know what I'm talking about. But
Hmm.
I have heard that once an author writes the story and they send it off to the publisher, that they don't get a lot of say of what the cover looks like or what the interior, how it's formatted. But this is so specific, and it elevates the story in a visual way. And I'm curious, did you get to have a say in this part of the story, or not?
Yes, when I first got the contract for this book, which means that a publisher says yes, they want to
Mhm.
publish it, I said it's really important that the book have different fonts to suggest the different handwriting and that there would be some little touches in it. I really wanted there to be a footprint of, I won't give it away,
Oh, no
but there's a
spoilers,
little
no spoilers.
there's a little footprint, and I really wanted that to be in, and so I specifically asked for those things, and it was nice to be able to see the book come alive, just as you described it. It really does make a difference because you feel like you're really reading the real thing, and that's what I wanted the reader to feel like.
Well, bravo to you and the publisher and for you fighting for those rights, because it definitely did add amazing elements to the story. Um, I can see behind you that there is a guitar, and I
Uh-huh.
know that you are a musician. I know that you do work with puppets. I know that you dabble in all sorts of creative things. And I'm wondering if you could tell us how does dabbling in all those different creative things influence and improve your ability as a writer?
I love to make music. I also love to do art, and so my puppets are cut paper, and they're a different kind of puppet. In fact, I can show you.
Yeah, we'd love to see.
I'm working on a new character, a new novel, and so sometimes I actually create the characters. And so this is the back of my new character. She lives in 1870. So she's wearing a cape, and it's a very important cape. And this is the back of her as she's in a very important scene. You might see, she has her bag, and so I often will create these paper puppets. This was done. Paper puppets have been made for many, many years, and they're either shown like on a paper stage and that acted out this way, or you can also shine a light on them and show the shadow of the puppet on a screen. So I do both of those things. I love to make music and to do art, because I think it exercises my imagination muscles and my creativity muscles, and those are important muscles to exercise. So every time I'm making something, whether it's a song or a book or a puppet, I'm using problem solving, because there's always some kind of thing that you have to figure out.
Mhm.
Everything is new, right? And so you have to figure that out. It's so you're exercising your problem solving muscles. You're also exercising, the persistent muscle. So when you are learning to play a song or you're learning how to draw something, it's hard at first.
Hmm.
And you can either give up or you can keep trying. And to give up is the easy thing to do. To keep trying is hard. And so it exercises that keep trying muscle. And the keep trying muscle is an important one because once you get into that habit of saying, okay, even though this is hard, I'm going to keep doing it, you do get able to handle the disappointments and the frustrations much better. So it's important to think of that as a muscle that you can develop, that you can make stronger. Those are really good reasons why you can do lots of different things in life, and the things that you do in life can help you in a lot of unexpected ways.
I love that. I love how it all comes full circle. It's both practical and mental all at the same time. That's great.
Yeah.
In preparation for this interview, I was reading through your bio on your website, and you said that when you were little, you thought that all authors were dead, that they were people who had written books a long, long time ago and they weren't alive anymore. And I had a similar experience. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know any writers. I kind of thought they all lived like in a fantasy land, just like the stories that they wrote. It didn't seem to me like they were real people. My parents weren't writers. My friends' parents weren't writers. And so part of what I love about running this channel and doing these interviews is showing kids and viewers and being like, look, they're real. They're real people right here, and you can have this job too if you want. So what advice or what words of wisdom or encouragement would you share if there is a wannabe author listening right now?
Well, the first thing is to enjoy the process of writing. And that sounds obvious, but sometimes you can forget about that. And one way to forget about it is to put too much pressure on yourself. And I did this when I was a kid. I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to write the best story ever. Well, I put so much pressure on myself that I didn't enjoy it because I was constantly thinking, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
good enough. And it was really a problem. So I always say, get into the mindset that writing is a joyful thing to do and that writing is your way of discovering how to write. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like if you were a soccer player, you wouldn't think about soccer and expect to be good at soccer, or you wouldn't wish you were a better soccer player and then think that you're going to be a better soccer player. You have to play soccer to become better at soccer, and
Mm-hmm.
you just have to write to become a writer. And so enjoy that. Enjoy the idea that, ooh, I get to write. I get to build my writing muscle up today. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write even if it's not the best thing that's ever written. I'm going to write a story and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to write a beginning. I'm going to write a middle and I'm going to write an end. And then I'm going to learn from it. So to have the expectation that what you do is something you can learn from is such a huge gift. If you just think, oh, I'm going to write this and it's going to be great and it'll be perfect and everyone will love it, you might be disappointed because it's hard to write a story. If you write a story thinking, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to see what I can learn from this, you will always succeed because you'll always learn from it.
Yeah. Such great wisdom there. And I think too, sometimes we think like length is like a determinant of quality. Like I'm a good
Hmm.
writer. I wrote a 27-page story or I wrote a 50-page story. And like because it's so long, that means it's good. But sometimes when we write shorter things and we get to the end of it, like you said, it has a beginning, middle, and end, a short story, we can do a whole lot more of those than one really big story, and we can learn from something every single time. And so, yeah, such good advice there.
I love that advice. And I do run into a lot of young people who say, I want to write a novel. And one of the things that I always say is, how about a short story? How about a
Mhm.
poem? Because it takes, for a professional writer, it usually takes, about a year to really write a whole novel. And so think about that. You're going to school, you have extracurricular activities, you're a part of a family. You don't have a year off
Hmm.
to write a novel. So it's really asking too much of yourself. Start small, learn from it, and keep doing it, and you'll find much more joy and satisfaction.
That's so great. I have learned so much from this interview. I hope that the viewers have as well. Before we leave, you want to tell us one thing you're working on next or what we can expect from you? And also, if readers have more questions, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yes. So, as I told you, I'm working on this story set in 1870. That it will be a little while before it comes, before I finish it. I just finished my third and final book in the Star Striker trilogy. So that is my fiction trilogy. This book isn't out yet, so you're getting the very first sneak
Ooh,
peek. I haven't showed this to anyone. I just got it. So it's coming out in November. It's called The Final Goal, and it's the last in that. And then I wanted to show you something. Can I share screen?
of course, you go right ahead.
So I have on my website, which is maryamato.com, I have a special thing which is all about Our Teacher is a Vampire. And it's a PDF that you can download for free, How an Idea Becomes a Book. And it's all about my process for writing this book. And so in it, you'll see these are the letters that I got from the students in Minnesota. You'll see my very first draft, which is very different from the first page. And
Mhm.
you'll see one of my webs. And so you can see that this is one of my brainstorming webs. It's incredibly messy. And you probably can't understand any of it, but it's sort of like opening up my brain and taking a look in
Yeah.
my brain. And then you can also see at the very, very end, there's a lot here to see, but I want you to see, oh my goodness, different covers. So we
Oh,
went through the process of choosing different covers and until we landed on this cover. And so there's a lot to see in this PDF, and I hope you would, if you're interested, would enjoy taking a look at that. And so my website is really the best way to contact me, which is maryamato.com. But I also am on Instagram, and I share a lot of things on Instagram, and that is author Amato.
awesome. I will make sure to link your website down there so that teachers and students can check out that PDF. I can also attest to the fact that she responds to emails there because that's how I got a hold of Mary. Uh, so all the good things, so many more great books from you to check out. I hope that people will find them and read them. Mary, thank you so much for your time today and for writing great middle grade books.
Thank you. And I had such a blast. Loved it.
Awesome. Readers, will see you again for another First Chapter Friday next week. Happy reading. To continue reading Our Teacher's a Vampire and Other Not True Stories by Mary Amato, pick up a copy from your school library, purchase one from your favorite local indie bookstore, or grab it via the link in the description box. Then be sure to check out the rest of the First Chapter Friday playlist. I've got dozens more middle grade and young adult novels waiting for you. Thanks so much for visiting my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. I hope you come back again for more First Chapter Friday videos, brain breaks, and other great content. You can find me at these places online. I'll see you again next time. Happy reading!